Yamunatira Manachari, Yamunatira Manachari, Yamunatira Manachari, Yamunatira Manachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, 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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yashoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana, Yamunatira Banachari, Yamunatira Banachari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivarjakachari Ashtottara Satyashri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Jai. Namam Vishnuparaya Krishna Pristaya Bhuttare Srimad Giriraj Swami Niti Namne Namaste Bhaktivedanta Swami Deve Nama Sankirtana Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Samasta Deshtarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, the beautiful story of the personality of Godhead. 10th canto of the Summum Bonum, which is Latin for the greatest good. The greatest good. Summum Bonum. Text, chapter 5. The wind. Here we go. Text 26, if I'm right. The meeting of Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva. So we'll read the word for word. Kachit, weather. Pashavyam, protection of the cows. Nirujam, without difficulties or disease. Bhuri, sufficient. Ambu, water. Trina, grass. Virudham, plants. Brihatvanam, the great forest. Tat, all these arrangements are there. Aduna, now. Yatra, where. Asse, are living. Tvam, you. Surit Vritaha, surrounded by friends. Kvachit pashavyam nirujam buryam butri navirudam brihatvanam tad aduna yatra setvam suritvritaha kachit pashavyam nirujam buryambu trinavirudam brihatvanam tad aduna yatra setvam suritvritaha kachit pashavyam nirujam buryambu trinavirudam vibrihadvanam tadaduna yatrasse tvam suridvritaha kachit pashavyam nirujam buryam butrina virudam brihadvanam tadaduna yatrase tvam suridvritaha Katchit pasyavyam nirujam Bhuryam bhutrin avirudam Brihadvanam tadaduna Yatrasitvam suridvritaha Katchit pasyavyam nirujam Bhuryam bhutrin avirudam Brihadvanam tadaduna Yatrasitvam suridvritaha Katchit pasyavyam nirujam Bhuryam bhutrin avirudham Brihadvanam tadaduna Yatrasitvam suridvritaha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. My dear friend Naradam, dear friend Nanda Maharaja, in the place where you are living with your friends, is the forest favorable for the animals, the cows? I hope there is no disease or inconvenience. The place must be full of water, grass, and other plants. Please repeat. My dear friend Nanda Maharaja, in the place where you are living with your friends, is the forest favorable for the animals, the cows? I hope there is no disease or inconvenience. The place must be full of water, grass, and other plants. Purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada writes, for human happiness, one must care for the animals, especially the cows. Vasudeva therefore inquired whether there was a good arrangement for the animals where Nanda Maharaj lived. For the proper pursuit of human happiness, there must be arrangements for the protection of the cows. This means that there must be forests and adequate pasturing grounds full of grass and water. If the animals are happy, there will be an ample supply of milk, from which human beings will benefit by deriving many milk products with which to live happily. As enjoined in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 44, Krishi Goraksha Vanijam Vaishyakarma Swabhavacham. Without giving proper facilities to the animals, how can human society be happy? That people are raising cattle to send to the slaughterhouse is a great sin. By this demoniac enterprise, people are ruining their chance for a truly human life. Because they are not giving any importance to the instructions of Krishna, the advancement of their so-called civilization resembles the crazy efforts of men in a lunatic asylum. Katchit pasyavyam nirujam bhuryam bhutrin avirudham brihadvanam tadaduna yatra setvam suridvritaha. My dear friend Nanda Maharaja, in the place where you are living with your friends, is the forest favorable for the animals, the cows? I hope there is no disease or inconvenience. The place must be full of water, grass, and other plants. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, who has opened my darkened eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. Mukham karoti vachanam pangum langam pangum langum. How's that going? Pangum langam giriyate tadaham Anyway. Yat kripatamaham bande shigurum nirantaharanam. So this verse is, actually there's 3 versions of this verse. By the mercy of the spiritual master, even a lame man can cross mountains and a dumb man can speak eloquently. So I will try to get the mercy of Guru and Parama Guru, Srila Prabhupada, to speak something valuable on this Srimad Bhagavatam, something worthy to be said. The main purport that Prabhupada is talking about is cow protection. And he gives reference to this Bhagavad Gita verse in the last chapter, chapter 18:44, that the qualities of the Vaishya community is to agriculture, protection of the cows, and business. Those are the main occupations, the principal occupations of someone who is in the Vaishya community, which is the 3rd order of the Varna system. First, topmost is the Brahmana community, and next down is Kshatriya community, the Vaishya community, and then lastly is the Shudra community. So we'll try to say something about this. I had a kind of a realization about these 4 orders a while back, and I think it applies, is that the Shudras, which are the lowest order, basically the labor class, their focus is on dealing with dead matter. The Shudras generally deal with masonry, carpentry, crafts, making jewelry, but they're dealing with inert matter, not living matter. And so they're focused on dead matter. The next level up is the Vaishya community. They're focused on living entities of the lower order, animals and plants. Plants are living too. So they do agriculture, and they cultivate, they raise cattle, not just raise cattle, but they give protection to the cattle and take advantage of all the benefits that the cow provides, and other animals too, not just cows. There's stories of dogs, cats, and horses, mules. So they take care of all these living entities. Now, higher up than that are the Kshatriyas, and they deal with a special class of living entity called human beings. So they administer the human beings, make sure that they're properly engaged according to Vedic culture. And when necessary, they go and fight other living entities, other Kshatriyas. They go to war in order to do protection, which is what Kshatriya means, one who gives protection. And then the highest of all, the Brahmins, they're not directed neither towards human beings so much, or animals, or dead matter. Their interest is Brahman, spirit. So they're directed upwards. And because they're directed and connected to the Brahman, or the absolute truth, then they can give directions to the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras, so that the whole Varnashram system, or the Varnas, are all working to attain the highest perfection of life, human life, which is to develop a love for God, and to understand who God is, and to develop love for Him, and engage in devotional service. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say that this is not the case so much in the world these days. And it's a little bit ironic that I'm speaking about this topic of cow protection because on the one side, my father and many relatives on my father's side are Texans, which means they're very much into raising cattle, but not for protection. It's more for satisfying their lust for the taste of blood. That's on my father's side. And on my mother's side, which is even worse, my grandfather has a big butcher shop in Paris. And actually recently I got a picture from one of my cousins in Europe, in France, that they sent. They say they found a picture of my grandfather's butcher shop. And I say, well, I was really ecstatic to see that, you know. And then according to the Vedic system, generally, a son takes on the qualities of the mother, and the daughter takes on the qualities of the father. So my mother took on the qualities of her father, the butcher, and I'm taking the qualities of my mother. So in the long sense, I'm the grandson of a butcher. But, on the other hand, there's the great redeeming quality of this Krishna consciousness movement. And everything that Srila Prabhupada has given us, even a low-class human being as me, grandson of a butcher, and descendant of cattlemen, Texas cattlemen, can become free from all these influences. And I can't imagine what I would be without Krishna consciousness. Where I would be, probably, who knows? I don't even want to speculate about it. So, Prabhupada speaks about this. The world is a lunatic asylum out there. The advancement, because the people in general are not giving any importance to the instructions of Krishna, the advancement of their so-called civilization resembles the crazy efforts of men in a lunatic asylum. And so I was listening to a class by Vaisheshika that I had saved on my phone, and it automatically came up, and it was very nice. And Vaisheshika is a very nice devotee out in Silicon Valley, very advanced soul. And he was saying that the spirit soul, the nature of the spirit soul is that he's a hero. Just the same as Krishna is the great hero of Srimad Bhagavatam. And of all his activities, he's the great hero. Because we are parts and parcels of Krishna. We are also, as living entities, we are also heroic. But I was taking it a step even further and saying, appreciating how the devotees are heroic. All devotees. They have established a beautiful bastion of Krishna consciousness in Maya's stronghold, Chicago. You go out there in Chicago, and there's so many crazy things going on. I don't have to mention them because we all know what they are. It's complete illusion, complete pursuit of material civilization, which means enjoying the senses as much as possible. Because according to their understanding, you only go around once in life, so go for all the gusto you can. But it's illusory. Maya Sukhaya. It's Maya's carrot stick that she's dangling in front of everybody. Just follow this. Come, like you hang a carrot on a string at the end of a stick, and you put it in front of a donkey, and the donkey tries to reach the carrot. Carrots are sweet. They are very juicy. So the donkey tries to go it, and so try to bite it, but you never get it. It's just an illusion. So Maya is very expert at tricking us and to go after her illusions. But the devotees are heroic because they've seen through Maya's tricks. And I was just recently in Spain. There was a nice class by Vyasaki. He was giving lessons on how to play harmonium and lead kirtan, which was very challenging. And I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yes, I remember. They asked me to give class a couple times, and it's the first time I've given class in Spanish. But it was quite a challenge. But anyway, they're studying Dhruva Maharaj. They're in the third canto, I think it is. Fourth canto. And we know the story of Dhruva Maharaj. He went to the forest because he was denied access to his father's lap by his stepmother, and he met Narada Muni and got instructions from Narada Muni how to become perfect, and gave him a mantra. The mantra that we sing at the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam is actually from Narada Muni instructing Dhruva Maharaj, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Later on in the story, Dhruva Maharaj's younger brother Uttama was killed by a yaksha in the forest. So yakshas are like Prabhupada describes in one of the purports there. They live in the valleys of Tibet, like they're Tibetans. And they're followers of Kuvera. So they have many mystic powers. So Dhruva Maharaj, seeking revenge, went and battled with the yakshas. And he's a powerful fighter. And he had a special bow and arrow. The yakshas were being killed, so they used their mystic power to bewilder Dhruva Maharaj. So this is called Maya, Maya Shakti. They have this Maya. So all around us, the whole material world, Maya has exerted her practically unconquerable influence and bewildered everybody to simply go and chase after illusory happiness. Chase after things that are temporary. Try to achieve by great labor results or benefits that are simply temporary and are subject to be destroyed after a while in time. But the devotees are heroic because they have conquered their minds. They understand, by the grace of the spiritual master, the grace of the devotees, the grace of the holy name, the grace of the deities, that we're not this body, we're not this mind, we're spirit soul. So they've received this transcendental knowledge, this valuable transcendental knowledge that's coming down from Srila Prabhupada through his magnum opus, Srimad Bhagavatam, his greatest labor. There's a nice verse I discovered in Bhagavad Gita. Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate tat swayam yoga samsiddha kalenatmani vindati. And in English it says, In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism. And one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. So, because we have received this knowledge and we're engaged in the practice of devotional service, gradually, more and more, we are enjoying this transcendental knowledge within ourselves. And there's another nice verse that relates to this, to how devotees are heroic in controlling their minds and their senses and engaging them in devotional service. Is chapter 2, text 59, Dehinasmin yata dehe kaum, no, excuse me. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinam. I'm sorry. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Thank you. So, what this verse means is that though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects still remains. But by experiencing a higher taste, one remains fixed in consciousness. So this experiencing the higher taste, the param drishtva nivartante, is what this whole process is all about, Krishna consciousness. And we can step away from the lunatic activities of the world because we've experienced this transcendental knowledge. Now, this another meditation I've had for the last few months is very nice, is this word transcendental. Prabhupada uses it a lot, the devotees use it a lot too, but it's important to understand what it transcendental means. And even outside in the material world, you know, there's groups that they call themselves the transcendental meditators. And there's different levels of transcendental realization too. You know, there's Brahman realization, Paramatma realization, Bhagavan realization. So transcendental means it's beyond the scope of our senses and our mind and our material intelligence to discern. We cannot reach the transcendental plane with our material senses in mind. Atashi Krishna namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyahi. Swayam eva spuratyada. Swayam eva spuratyada. Anyway, this verse basically says that we cannot reach Krishna, we cannot know anything about Krishna with our material senses. But when we engage our senses, beginning with the tongue, then Krishna manifests himself, spuratyadaha, swayameva spuratyaha. He manifests himself within the heart. So this transcendental knowledge, it's coming down. By engaging in our material senses to try to reach the transcendental plane, it's the ascending process. It's very difficult, and you don't get there. You have to fall down again. Even if you reach it, you have to fall down. But one who brings real transcendental knowledge, then the eyes of the recipient, the heart of the recipient is opened up and experiencing a whole new level of existence. And it's not just imagination. It's not just imagination. Because, how can you tell? Well, people that take up this practice, their characters changed. Their lifestyles change. They completely change. They're a completely different person than before they came here. The qualities are developing of goodness, patience, tolerance, mercy towards others. Now, cow protection, back to that. I was in Spain, I said, and they have it's a farm, Nueva Vraja Mandala, it's a very nice farm, beautiful deities, Shishirada, Govinda Chandra, Gornitai, Lakshmi Nrsingadev, very nice. Beautiful devotees, nice leadership. Yadunandana Swami is very nice. I've never seen a sannyasi perform Tulsi Puja before. But he's so humble, and he's there for the morning program every day. It's like very enlivening, and his leadership has transformed this, I'm told, because I wasn't there before, but they said simply this humble presence of this very nice elevated devotee, Yadunandana Swami, has transformed the whole mood into Vaikuntha, no worries, very peaceful. So they have 7 cows. And these are very nice cows. They produce ahimsa milk for the deities. Some cows are producing milk. They even haven't had a calf yet, and they're producing milk. This is practically unheard of. Not much, but they're producing a little, and it's their offering to the deities to produce milk and milk sweets and so many milk preparations. But I was thinking about this. Well, Spain is the symbol of Spain is the bull. And when I was going from the airport to the Vrajamandala, Nueva Vrajamandala farm, there was a big hill. The highway just went by a big hill, and there was a big silhouette on top of the hill of a bull. And immediately I told the driver, Vishnumurti, I said, well, Aristasura. You know, it was one of the pastimes of Krishna. He killed it. Aristasura. I said, well, then he explained to me, well, this is the symbol of Spain, you know. But there's only 7 cows and a couple of bulls that are being protected in all of Spain. The other ones, the bulls, are being killed in these corrida de toros, you know, the bullfights, and the slaughterhouses and everything. So we've got a long, long ways to go in order to fulfill the mission of Srila Prabhupada. The first mission of Srila Prabhupada, the first mission statement that he declares when he first founded ISKCON was that is to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to I forget what the word was, to create, let's say, create real unity and peace in the world. So that's our mission. You know, it's good to know what we're supposed to be doing here. But it's interesting to note, and I was appreciating Anuttama's class yesterday, that he was using very generic terms, the divinity, you know, talking about Krishna, God, you know, different people, because he's the communications minister, he's got to deal with everybody in the outside world, so he has to relate with them in such a way that they can understand the message that we're giving. And devotees, Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, they're not duratmas, they're mahatmas. They have a wide vision. They have to have a wide vision. Not just be narrowly focused on something, they have to be wide. And this mission is meant for worldwide transformation, to transform the character of every individual in society, whether they be in the jungles of Brazil or the mountains of Nepal or the plains of Texas or Mexico or Spain, rather. So, in itself, cow protection is definitely a good sign. But the process that Prabhupada is giving us in very generic terms is to distribute spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate the people in general about the techniques of spiritual life. So we have to understand what are the techniques that we have, that have been given to us. So what are the techniques? I'll open that up for discussion a little bit. Spiritual life. What are the techniques of spiritual life? Yeah, but sadhana is a very general term. Are there techniques within sadhana? I mean, can you break it down a little bit more?
Chanting of the holy names.
Oh yeah,
a particular
of course.
Technique.
Chanting the holy names. It's a main one, actually, according to Lord Chaitanya. It's our main thing. It's what it is what the movement's known for, right? What's the movement known as? The Hare Krishna movement. Why? Because we're chanting Hare Krishna all the time.
Worshipping the deities is very specific.
Yeah, right. And then, although that's not the prescribed yajna for this age, the Sankirtan yajna, deity worship is the previous age, but because it helps us to get to purify, to get to the mode of goodness where we can chant purely, it's very good, very worthy to do. Kevin?
I was going to say, based on what you were talking about earlier, everything, no meat eating, one of the techniques.
Yeah, follow the principles, right, the prohibitions, right? No eating meat, fish or eggs, no taking of intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. So that's the don'ts, and then we have the do's.
Sadhu Sangha and accepting favorable association and rejecting unfavorable association. And more importantly, accepting good thoughts and rejecting bad thoughts, which is much harder.
Krishna Prasadam. Yeah, so this is very important here too, because sadhu sangha, sadhu means somebody who's situated on the transcendental plane, who's in the mode of goodness or is beyond the mode of goodness. Sat. Sat means eternal, right? Who's situated on the eternal plane. Sadhu, who's acting and living on the spiritual plane, on the eternal plane. He may be inside a material body and having to deal with all the things related to the body and mind, but his focus is on the spiritual plane, sadhu. So to associate with people that are on this spiritual platform is very favorable. And to associate with those who are focused on material life is not favorable. One should avoid that. And so we have the mind also. As you say, it can be a saint, or Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that the mind, one should elevate oneself with the help of the mind and not degrade oneself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. And for one who has conquered the mind is the best of friends, but for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So our mind itself is can be a sadhu that we can associate with if he's our friend. And he can be an enemy also if he drags us down to places where we shouldn't be going. So we have to, the devotees are heroic. They're heroes, every one of them. Everyone that comes here. Even those that come just for a moment. You know, you have on Sundays, you have a lot of, on the weekends, many people come and they offer worship to the deities and bow down. And so they're presenting themselves as candidates to become heroes, you know. They're presenting themselves. And they keep coming. Sooner or later, they will get the message. So, I'm very happy to have the opportunity to come associate with such heroic people that have conquered their minds. And there's another nice verse in the same chapter, chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, as Krishna says, Jitatmana prasantasya paramatma samahitaha chittosna sukadukeshu tatamana pamanayoho. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a person, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. So this is a really, really nice verse. I use it a lot to hammer my mind into obedience, into friendliness instead of enemy. So these verses, there's like 6 verses in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that really help me control my mind, direct it. Another nice verse, Prasana manaso hyenam yoginam sukham uttamam upaiti shantarajasam brahma bhutam kalmasam. The yogi whose mind is fixed on me verily attains the highest perfection of transcendental happiness. He is beyond the mode of passion. He realizes his identity with the Supreme, and thus he is freed from all reactions to past deeds. This is a very nice verse. Yeah. What is the goal? You know, we're doing yoga, bhakti yoga. Well, of course, the yoga, the purpose of devotion, well, I'll put that forward to the assembled devotees. What's the purpose of devotion? What's the purpose of sadhana? What's the purpose of all these spiritual techniques that we're learning and passing on to others? What's the purpose of it? What's your name?
Sankalpa.
Akalpa.
Sankalpa.
Sankalpa.
Yeah.
Sankalpa. Thank you.
Yeah. The purpose, I would say, is to be awake to the true reality and the nature of things, and see light for as it is.
That's actually a byproduct.
A what?
It's a byproduct. Huh. The ultimate purpose is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all other good things happen. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Chanayatya Shuvairagyam Jnanam Yad Ahaitukam. So by engaging in devotional service to Lord Vasudeva, which is another name of Krishna, then automatically knowledge and detachment are presented. We gain knowledge and detachment. Of course, coming to that stage of realizing that everything we're doing is for the pleasure of Krishna and not for us is quite advanced when one gets to there. When I studied the books I'm looking for gems. Prabhupada has put a lot of his ecstasies in these books. He calls them personal ecstasies, his purports. There's one verse that I found that was really, really nice. And generally, when an acharya or the scriptures repeat something 3 times, that means it's very important. If a parent repeats something to the children 3 times, it means it's very important. So this is a purport that Prabhupada wrote, very short, but I memorized it. And if you don't mind, I'd like to share it with you because it's really nice. It's really nice. It's like one of the most beautiful and big gems that Prabhupada has presented us in his books. It says, it's from the 8th canto, chapter 17, text 24, and it's having to deal with Vamanadev in the womb of Aditi, Mother Aditi. And Lord Brahma is offering prayers. But this purport has nothing to do with that. Well, it has a little bit to do with it. So Prabhupada writes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead exists everywhere. All right? He's Vamanadev inside the womb, but he's present everywhere. And then, Anantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam. This is a verse from Brahma Samhita, explaining how the Supreme Personality of Godhead expands himself throughout the whole universe, even within every atom. Anantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam. Then he says, when one chants his transcendental names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is automatically pleased by this Sankirtan. It is not that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is absent. He is present there. When the devotee utters the transcendental name, it is not a material sound. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is naturally pleased. When the devotee knows that the Lord is present everywhere, and that one can please him simply by chanting his holy names. So 3 times Prabhupada is saying, please, how to please Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead by chanting his name. Pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead by chanting his name. Pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead by chanting his names. 3 times. He's naturally pleased, he's automatically pleased. And the devotee knows that he can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by chanting his names. Simply by chanting his names. So this is the power of the Hare Krishna mantras that And more and more I try to focus on this. Anytime any devotee chants Krishna's name, Krishna is automatically pleased. This devotee is pleasing Krishna. And I can please Krishna too very easily. Just chant his names. So when I'm chanting japa or chanting kirtan, I realize, I understand, oh, Krishna is pleased by this. It's without a doubt. Without a doubt. So, on that note, I will end my presentation discourse. And if there's any questions or purports, or commentaries, corrections, suggestions, insights, inspirations.
Hare Krishna. Premi Bhakta Prabhu, thank you for your class. You made a lot of enlightening points. I'll try to narrow it down. Please forgive me for not being eloquent, because I have a lot of stuff here. But this purport and verse mentions cow protection.
This one, yeah.
But mostly, as you know, practicing devotees in the city, we're mostly dealing with consciousness protection, which is hard enough. And one thing I appreciate about Arjuna and the Gita, many places in the Gita, he was very humble about it. In chapter 3, verse 35 or 36, he says, Atakina prayutayam papam charati purushaha, anichanapi varshanya bala iva niyojitaha. He says, Krishna, essentially, I'm known as, like you were mentioning, a sakshiya, which means to protect. But I can't even protect myself from lust. from anger, from greed, from the most material nature. And we see in the material world that a macho man, they'll usually tell their girlfriend, you see these muscles, you see this goatee, you hear this deep voice, it's state-of-the-art security system, and it can protect my girlfriend, but because he can't protect his mind from lust, he'll say, I want to be protector of that other girl. And relationships are ruined like that because you can protect yourself from lust. So one last point before I ask the question, like I said, it's kind of sporadic, but one point I keep in mind is that the purpose of a Kshatriya, like you were mentioning, is to protect. And in America, the Kshatriyas are known as police officers or security guards. So we see in a prison that security guards are meant to protect the citizens from the criminals from escaping prison. If criminals escape, it's going to cause havoc for human society. So we hear in the Nectar of Devotion that there's criminals in our heart known as anarthas. And sometimes they escape through our thoughts, our words, and our actions. And the security guards are these qualities, Yasyasi Bhakti Bhagavatiya Kenchana Sarva Gunas Tatra Samaste Suraha. How to develop these qualities. So my question is that you were mentioning the higher taste. You quoted that verse. But there's a nice verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya is speaking to Prakashananda Saraswati. And he says, Krishna Nam Mahamantreda Eta Swabhava Yejapetara Krishna Upajaya Bhava. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna, one can get all one's ecstasy. But in the material world, we see that we usually develop faith in things that arouse our senses. You know, women, or fame, greed. But when we hear Bhagavatam, it doesn't arouse the senses. So how to develop that faith, or even pray for that faith, that, Krishna, give me that faith, if it's very difficult unless we're in a difficult position. But when in other words, Narada Muni cursed Nalakuvana Manigriva. They had the faith in the sense gratification like we do. And what are some steps we can move forward to develop the faith in Krishna consciousness, hearing the Bhagavatam before a devotee like Narada Muni comes curse us, or some grave difficulties comes in our life before we get seriously? So what are some steps we can move to develop this faith in a higher taste? I'm still trying to do it, but I've been cursed by my karma too, so that's the only reason I'm here. So
it's not so much faith, it's intelligence. You know, the body, superior to the body is the senses, superior to the senses is the mind, superior to the mind is the intelligence, and superior to the intelligence is the spirit soul. So when our intelligence is purified by the instructions we receive from higher authorities, and we follow that, it may be just, let's just try it out, all right? A curiosity, for example. Then we see that by following these instructions, there's a nice result at the end, right? We get this pratyakshavagadam dharmyam. We get direct experience of this transcendental knowledge. Then our intelligence becomes sharpened. And then, so we have to sharpen and sharpen and sharpen our intelligence. And then even we go out there, and there's so many allurements in the form of attractive sense objects that are presented by, Maya's allurement and society at large. Because we have strong and sharp intelligence, we can see, oh, if I go down this way, I've been there, the result's not good. Let me hold back, So, there's many ways of getting intelligence. One of them is hearing, and the other one is committing mistakes, and then learning from our mistakes. So there's three classes of intelligent people. Those that learn by hearing, those that learn by committing mistakes, and then there's those that commit mistakes and they don't learn, and they keep doing them over and over again. With devotees, they're very sharpened intelligence. They're heroic. With their intelligence, they're curbing down the impulses of the mind, the mental patterns that we've being conditioned, from birth. Birth after birth, actually. Because this mind, we've been stuck to this mind, birth after birth. The mind goes with us till we get out of this material world and we go back to. But faith is a little bit there. At least let me have enough to try and see what this chanting of Hare Krishna is all about. And let me try maybe, being a vegetarian today and, not taking any alcohol. And of course, everybody knows, right, that drinking alcohol just destroys your brain cells, and the more you drink, you become a drunkard, right? Satchidananda Swami was giving this example in terms of how to become attached to the holy name. And he was comparing it. He was citing Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, well, if you drink alcohol, pretty soon you become a drunkard. But if you chant, and then you chant and chant, pretty soon you become a pure chanter. So actually there's one of the stages of progression towards prema is asakti. It means addiction. You become addicted to Krishna consciousness. That's a good thing. It's the kind of addiction we want, we need to cultivate that kind of addiction. It's like, I can't give it up. I can't give it up. It takes a while to get that stage. We have to get across the anartha, the desert of anarthas, or the jungle. Right? The desert jungle would be more like it. There's so many, chop our way through the jungle of anarthas. But pretty soon, we come out into nice pasture grounds, Anarthas is very difficult. Subhal Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
No, I was going to ask a question. If you haven't finished,
Oh no, you go ahead.
You mentioned that purport that inspired you very much from Srila Prabhupada, and you recited the purport on Prabhupada 3 times emphasizing how to please Krishna Krishna becomes pleased simply by us chanting his holy names. And which is very encouraging. You mentioned that, just while chanting your japa, in general, we're sort of a little, well, not a little, quite concerned that, and embarrassed at times, that when chanting you find yourself, you cut yourself, actually ignoring Krishna and committing all kinds of offenses.
Yeah, the mind wanders all over the place.
Yeah. And, tend to think, how can you please Krishna like that? It's almost like, calling him and then ignore him. But there is this mention of Krishna being pleased just by you chanting. And I'm thinking that, well, that's that, but how about, in our level, we're trying at least. But this is a very broad statement. The other day, we were at the Bodhbilikan parade, and during the festival, the festival side after the parade, there were these extremist black radical people. They dress like in a funny way, like and they very angry people, and they choose to actually be in front of us because somehow or other they get attractive. They see, we're sort of close.
In the parade, they were in front of you?
Not there in parade,
in the festival grounds.
The picnic. They stand in front of our kirtan stage with their speaker, and they start to blaspheme, and then you hear and say, Hare Krishna, this, Hare Krishna, blah, 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 blah. Hare Krishna, blah, 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 blah. Hare Krishna, blah, blah, blah. And they keep chanting and chanting and chanting, but in such a despiteful anger. It was very painful for the devotees.
Yeah.
I mean, there were so transcendental devotees who were like, sort of, well, they're chanting, but, you know, but you can imagine it was not pleasing, it was painful. Devotees were, you know, being, you know, you have to contain yourself. I mean, there were a lot that were very angry and very menacing.
Yeah.
But,
well, their mood is offensive, right?
Yeah.
So that pains the devotees' hearts to see.
However, they're chanting.
Yes.
And would you say...
It will act.
Would you say Krishna is pleased?
Yes. Yes. Lord Chaitanya is pleased. He's Lord Krishna. It's like during Lord Chaitanya's time in Navadvip, and then he was starting his Sankirtan movement, and Chandkazi came and broke all the mridanga, you know, and said, don't chant anymore. And the Muslims, they were making fun of, you know, the devotees, because one of them's called Haridas, another one's called Ramdas, another one's Krishna Das, you know. So they make fun of the devotee, but they're chanting, you know. And eventually, it got to the point they didn't know why, but they couldn't stop chanting. You know, the holy name was on their mind. It was the influence of Lord Chaitanya, of course. And it doesn't, you know, there's 12 different rasas, right? 5 primary ones and 7 secondary ones, and some of the secondary ones are, you know, ghastliness and fear, enmity. So they're doing it, but it's one of the 12 rasas, and so they're actually making a lot of advancement. Just you say Krishna once, and you're destroying more sins than you're able to commit. You know, there's this verse from the Kali Santarana Upanishad. I like to recite that every day too. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, iti sodashaka namnam, Kali Kalmasa Nasanam, Natakparataropaya, Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate. These 16 names destroy all the faults of the age of Kali. These 16 names destroy all the faults of the age of Kali. These 16 names destroy all the faults of the age of Kali. After searching through all the Vedic literature, one will not find a method of religion more sublime for this age than the chanting of Hare Krishna. So, yeah. Still there's antagonistic groups, you know, but those have been around all the time. Prabhupada says, well, by our preaching, we will antagonize people, but by our preaching, we will also change them to where they agree with us. Eventually, it takes time. Devotee has to be fully convinced and not deterred. Perseverance. He has to be tolerant, merciful, friendly, and treat others with equality. Then the Supreme Personality of God is pleased. There's that nice verse in Dhruva Maharaj. It was spoken by Swayambhuva Manu, his grandfather, told him to stop killing all these yakshas, you know. He was slaughtering all these innocent yakshas. And he said, Titikshaya karunaya maitya chakila jantusu samatvena cha sarvatva bhagavan samprasidati. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleased with his devotee. Pleasing, right? There we go again, pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleased with its devotee when the devotee greets others with tolerance, mercy, friendliness, and equality. 4 things. And then in the purport, Prabhupada says, he's talking, the whole purport is about Madhyamadikari, the preacher, right? Preacher knows how to deal with the 4 different kinds of people. Now, in this case, we're not going to go associate with those Black Panther radicals or whatever they were. But by our association, because we're presenting the holy name, they're chanting, they're making advancement, you know. So they probably go back to their headquarters, wherever that is. Oh, did you see what we did with these Hare Krishnas? And we really told them that, you know, and then they were, you could see that all these Hare Krishnas were this and that, you know. And so, you know, Lord Jagannath and the devotees are so attractive that they even attract, so the enemies, they come and say, oh, they chose the devotees to come and attack. Why? Because the devotees are attractive. I wasn't there, but I can,
Yes.
in my mind's eye, I'm seeing the situation.
Yes, we can expect in several Bodhilikan parades that we have those guys bullying everybody to take to Hare Krishna.
And then the LA Ratha Yatra, every year, there's a group of Christians that come up with placards and every year, you know. And then, so they say, Jesus is the way, you know, Krishna is the devil, whatever. You know, I don't know what this, I've seen it. I was there one year, you know, about 20 years ago, and they were there. And then later on, they come and take prasadam, you know. And so, you know, they like Tietman. But they come, you know, they're attracted to it. They want to present their message, which is fine, you know. It's not fine that they're blaspheming the devotees, but then they're attracted. The devotees are very attractive, aren't they? You know, it's how we attract people. Is we become very attractive people. You know? Happy, tolerant, merciful, treat everybody as equals. You know, it's pleasing. Krishna's pleased. If Krishna's pleased, he's the trunk, the root, and everybody else is pleased. Mother Krishna.
Premi Bhakti, you were touching on that mission statement of Srila Prabhupada and pointing out that it was necessary to know what the techniques were that of spiritual life that one is educating people in. So I was just making a connection that, you know, you also posed the question, you know, what's the purpose of perhaps following all those various techniques? So the thought came to me that if persons are getting educated in the techniques of spiritual life, I mean, to the degree that they wish to be educated in those, it's a more difficult barrier, so to speak, to cross, to actually have persons understand or truly want to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It seems that, you know, from the material perspective, it's generally what can one get out of learning those techniques, or
what's in it for me?
Correct. And it's sometimes a little painful if one's going through the process of the education and seeing that shift to wanting to please is not happening. It's still staying on the plane of what am I going to be extracting from this, and see, in fact, I'm receiving something. So all I have to do is ask, and I'm receiving. I must be special. So it's a harder thing to, I don't know if educate is the word, but bring that kind of change about. So I'm just bringing that up because it's of interest to me how if in that education, in the techniques of spiritual life, something can be infused that assists in the bringing about the change from that, what's in it for me, to wanting to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
It's a natural progression in spiritual life. It's not something that we can force other people to accept. Or even ourselves, our minds, our hearts, because we have conditioning and thought patterns. But if we engage in these techniques of spiritual life, now I really like the fact that Prabhupada is not making a sectarian statement. These techniques are applicable to any bona fide tradition. They take the nectar of devotion and take the essence of the nectar of devotion, the book that Prabhupada wrote, and apply it to their tradition. They will achieve love of Godhead according to their understanding of who God is. Because Krishna is unlimited, and he has unlimited forms, and he manifests himself in limited ways according to the desire of his devotee. So Allah, Jehovah, so many, we don't even know on other planets, But just over here, we got 10 avatars, That's within the Vedic culture, even outside the Vedic culture. So it's a natural progression. It's a natural progression. There's a very nice purport. But Prabhupada talks about natural progressions. And it has to do with this really nice verse. Itan nirvijamananam ichatam akutobayam yoginam nripanirnitam harer namanu kirtanam. And this is Sukadeva Goswami talking to Parikshit Maharaj, 2nd Canto, Chapter 1, Text 11. He says, "My dear king, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord, after the ways of the great authorities, is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from all material desires, those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, and also those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge." Can I read the little section of the purport where he talks about natural progression? So simply now this is chanting the holy name of God. It doesn't matter, it's not necessarily Krishna, because Krishna has unlimited names. But this is a really, really long purport. Let's see. But I like to let's see if I can find it. There it is. What happened? Oh, here we go. So this is a whole theme. I have many quotes from this. Or a purport by Srila Prabhupada. By offenseless chanting and hearing of the holy name of the Lord, one becomes acquainted with the transcendental form of the Lord, and then with the attributes of the Lord, then with the transcendental nature of his pastimes, etc. Here it is mentioned that one should constantly chant the holy name of the Lord after hearing it from authorities. This means that hearing from the authorities is the first essential. Hearing of the holy name gradually promotes one to the stage of hearing about his form, his qualities, attributes, pastimes, and so on. Thus, the necessity of the chanting of the glories of the Lord develops successively. And in other places, he's also mentioned this. After chanting the holy name of the Lord and dancing in ecstasy, one gradually sees the form of the Lord and the pastimes of the Lord and the transcendental qualities of the Lord. This is This way, one fully understands the situation of the personality of Godhead. This is from 6th Canto, chapter 3, text 22. And then another one. Thus, by hearing the holy name of the Lord, one comes to the platform of understanding the personal form of the Lord, the deity. Then one realizes, after realizing the form of the Lord, one can realize the transcendental qualities of the Lord. And when one can understand his transcendental qualities, one can understand the Lord's associates, his friends. Another one, teaching of the Lord Chaitanya. By chanting and hearing the holy names of Krishna, one can remember the forms and qualities of Krishna. So this chanting of the holy name is the key that unlocks all the other levels. But if we don't engage in we don't have the key that opens the door to the form of the Lord, which opens the door to the attributes of the Lord, that opens the door to the pastimes of the Lord, that opens the door to the associates of the Lord. You know, if we don't have that first key, we're not, and that's the problem. You know, all these different religious traditions haven't been engaged in cultivating the holy name of the Lord. So this is what we can present to them. It's like, well, you don't have to chant Hare Krishna, you chant Allah or Jehovah or Christ. You know, Prabhupada said you can even chant Christ's name and then it'll get you there, you know. So what's their understanding of what God is? God is truth. God is love. God is light. It's very impersonal. But when they cultivate chanting God's name in their life in a personal way, then automatically the holy name of God reveals himself within the heart of the devotee. That's also in that chapter 18, Chaitanya Charitamrita. It says, by hearing and following the footsteps of the spiritual master and chanting the holy name with the same respect as the spiritual master, this constitutes worship of the transcendental name. And when the transcendental name is worshipped by the devotee, the name himself spreads his glories within the heart of the devotee. So we have to follow our authorities, chant the holy name, following in their footsteps, and trying to chant with the same respect. Then the holy name accepts our worship, is pleased by it, and reveals himself within the heart. And then we go on. So anyway, I'm way over time. But thank you very much for this opportunity to speak a little bit about the glories of the holy name in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.